So the latest claim to fame for any marketer seems to be the number of likes their brands have on Facebook, number of followers on Twitter, and number of views their campaign garners on YouTube. While that's all very well, the question we're addressing today is whether marketers are way too obsessed with numbers on social media. Are they too focused on volume instead of value? And in this crazy volume race, engagement seems to have been put on the back burner. Well, Mahesh Murthy from Pinstorm, Sameer Pittalwala, co-founder of Culture Machine, which is a multi-channel YouTube network, Basant Kumar, director of marketing IBM, and Anag Desai, a brand consultant, all addressed these very concerns. Take it away.
I'm going to open it with you, Mahesh. Why is there so much focus on volume? Is it because the CMO today is 40 plus? His KRAs on social media are really the number of likes, followers and views on YouTube?
I think this is really the history or the legacy that we have of most CMOs. When you buy television, and you are in television, I used to be in television, you're told to buy a particular number of GRPs, and you had GRPs to buy at a CPRP, at a cost per rating point, and so your entire thing was, I need 800 GRPs this week and I need to buy them at X thousand rupees a GRP, vagera. And that was your success. And then you had agencies that came back and said how cleverly you bought versus the other guy, and that became your entire thing. How well am I buying? But that is meaningless. I mean, it doesn't matter how well you buy the ingredients. What really matters is what you're able to cook up with them, right? And you don't need to buy smartly to be able to make a better meal. Similarly, in the same way, I mean, rather than measure the things that matter, as in, okay, what's my sentiment? What's the movement in my sentiment? How many of my followers are really bots? With many large brands, I mean, the bot percentage is greater than 50, 60, 70%. So there's a large number of people in Turkey and Ghaziabad who are apparently followers of every major brand in the world, right? Or politician. Yeah, and Dhaka. And of course, while it's good, it's giving employment to housewives in Dhaka and Faridabad, that's not particularly what brand directors mean when they want likes. Why do numbers matter? No brand talks to 100% of the audience. As long as I know that my brand only caters to people with more than 20 lakh disposable income, and there are only, say, 200,000 such people in India, and 5,000 of them are talking great about it, I should be fine by that. Why should I need to go and get 5 lakh likes? And then we have agencies that spring up and say 5 rupees a like. Then he says 5 rupees, 4 rupees a like. He says 4 rupees, 2 rupees a like, and so on and so forth. And we lose the plot. I think that's really it's our own fixation with the wrong end of the value spectrum.
Right. Sameer, if you could throw light on, this particular obsession and, your personal experience with clients who are so obsessed with likes despite you telling them that, listen, don't be so.
Our core focus is video, and the same fallacy as Mahesh pointed out applies there as well, because video views are the new likes and followers. And what tends to happen here, and even if you look at the movie industry, which has been, in fact, today movies, if the trailer doesn't do very well, the distributors end up start questioning the viability of the movie itself. And what they tend to do is spend a lot of money in order to get that view counter to go high. And that's actually completely contrary, because it's 7 years back, a platform like YouTube, the core metric which mattered was views. So it meant you could put a really good looking thumbnail and it didn't matter what the content was. And over the last 2 to 3 years, they've completely rejigged the entire algorithms to focus on core metrics such as watch time, which anybody in TV would realize is a proxy for time spent. So there's reach and there's time spent. And if your video is engaging, it actually rises to the top. So a lot of brands come and say, hey, listen, we created this programming. Why is it not number one on YouTube search results? YouTube is the world's second largest search engine. And we're like, listen, there's a reason why your, official communication is not there. It's because it's probably not engaging. Nobody wants to watch it.
Exactly.
So the core metric over there is actually watch time. So if it's a 10-minute long video, did people spend 8 minutes on it, or did they drop off in 15 seconds? Did the advocacy matters? Did they share? Did they engage? All of these signals bubble up to actually define what the health of the video is. Views are just one metric. However, what tends to happen is they buy a lot of views, and in fact, YouTube did a case study recently which correlated the views that a trailer has to the box office success. And what they found was that a lot of trailers which did brilliantly well on the view counter had completely inverse in terms of correlation to the box office opening, because it turns out that if you have a movie, say, like Finding Fanny, it's very different than a movie like Kick in terms of its TG. So if it gets, to take his point again, the right 2 million people end up watching it, those will translate into, people who walk into the theater, and just getting 10 million views from Eastern Europe and Peru is not going to make a difference to your core metric.
Now that we've attacked you quite well, if you could come in and talk about, why do marketers think the way they think? I mean, we've been talking about digital for a while. By now, they must have got it, right? That the likes are not really authentic. Even if one does like you, doesn't mean we're really interacting with you. All that is pretty much, I'm sure all you guys understand that.
Yes, we do. But again, I think what Mahesh and Samir said is really boils down to the fact that at the end of the day, it really boils down to what are the metrics that you're going to measure the teams against, whether it's the agency team or the marketing team. And the fallacy, if you were to put it, is really there are two themes out here. There's social engagement and there's customer engagement. And for long, I think we've believed that social engagement drives customer engagement, right? Whereas I think in this sort of new world, and I'm sure we'll delve into it as we go along, of how people make decisions, you could argue that customer engagement actually drives social engagement. And as more and more of us sort of start to believe in that and get into it more deeply, you will begin to see the sort of churn happening. But I think the reason is really on how you measure people, right? How you measure marketing, how you measure marketing output, and therefore how the agencies get measured. And that's really what drives behavior.
Are you then suggesting that the way it is being measured right now is flawed?
It is to a certain extent, yes. It is really the way marketing and marketeers get measured across, and it's not just how you measure campaigns. It's not how you measure the outcomes of those campaigns and so on and so forth. It's really how you measure the entire funnel.
Do you think that the problem today in understanding the space, we all know that we're groping in the dark, there's no doubt about it, but the fact that the CMO's average age today is plus 40 plus, right? And he is not really part of the internet era. So for him to understand these mediums is an effort, and his natural leaning will never be towards digital. It will be towards traditional. So do you think the problem lies there in that average age?
Because they're not born in the internet era, this information glut which keeps coming in, each platform keeps evolving so rapidly. Facebook keeps changing its algorithms in terms of what happens new on the timeline is very different from what Twitter's timeline is very different from what YouTube's newsfeed is. To keep abreast of all of these is a task no matter what your age is. And I do think that it's important to have people who are born and brought up in that medium to kind of keep a track of it. And I do think, like everything in life, there'll be a phase. As they get phased out and the new generation comes in, they will have a tough time trying to figure out traditional media as well, because that kind of is a very different environment as this is. So yes, there is a problem there because of that, but I don't think essentially it's a problem in that manner if they actually hire right or partner with the right people.
Let me flip this around and ask you a simple question. A CEO is not a specialist in everything, right?
Yes, I agree.
He is a generalist. Yeah. And he hires specialists who deliver.
Yeah.
And he questions the delivery.
Yeah.
So why does a CMO feel a little left out and say that, okay, this is your KRA, keep it aside, I don't want to understand digital?
It's not just age. I think anybody who uses BlackBerry will never get digital.
Yeah, I think there's a fair point.
Never, right? So
almost not upgraded from BlackBerry for the last 3 years.
I'll talk to you next year. Why don't you change your phone? We'll come back and talk to you later. The issue is, again, the way you're brought up. Again, with this, I was talking with this gentleman who runs a large category, a large FMCG. He seems to think that the amount of money he gives a medium is a sign of the importance of that medium. And I tell him it's not that. That's not how actually even digital works. Even though we keep making cries for more and more money in digital, it's not the amount of money you spend. It's actually the amount of footage you earn by giving the thought it takes. I mean, and we've seen, digital is a perfect jiu-jitsu medium. You spend the least amount of money, you can get the biggest amount of market turn by doing it at the right way. It's not just about money. So even with Nestle, we worked with them. The guy got up and said, okay, we'll go to 20% of ad spend. I said, that's doing the wrong thing, because when you do 20% of ad spend, what they end up doing is everybody spends that money on YouTube videos, and they crap YouTube videos that nobody wants to watch. Then they spend a lot of money.
Went viral, by the way.
Right?
The last one did
right.
Nescafe.
Right.
Yeah,
but the last one, and then they put lots of money behind it to buy views. And finally, at the end, they don't know, if you're buying a view for a video, which is on a viral channel like YouTube, there's something really wrong with the entire thing. Right? You've kind of lost the plot somewhere entirely. There's been a failure at every step.
I think the big change and the big elephant in the room is really the fact that how people are making decisions about brands, right, is what has changed fundamentally, right? I mean, we still believe in these sort of awareness, interest, desire, action sort of funnel, right? And with that sort of changing and becoming the new sort of marketing funnel, that change is the leap that marketers need to make.
If I I can bring you in and talk about, you know, the real problem with social, and the problem with social is, or digital rather, is that only the marketing department is really clued into social, digital, with the brand, I mean. And every other facet of the organization is pretty old school in the way they deal with this new monster that we have at hand. And if you can throw some light on that.
Even now we think, you know, there's a social department. Social is not a department, right? Social has to flow across marketing, HR, product, every damn thing that you have out there. It has to be, it's really an enabling force across everything. Now, it really depends on the fact is that we do have all these people on social media, but actually the organizations are stopping them from being on social. So we worked with two very large IT organizations. One of them has, you know, 150,000 people. And at that point, they wanted to be on social. We said, look, cool. We are an agency with about 100 people. You have 150,000 people. I'll tell you what, we don't need to use our 100 people. Let's use your 150,000 people who each have 500 friends to spread the word about how great you are a place to work at. They said, oh my God, no, never. We don't want our employees to use social media in the office. Right? So they blocked out and they banned out. So this is ridiculous, right? And actually it starts with, do you even have a social media policy that people sign as part of their joining kit? That they're told what to do, what not to do. You want to be able to have some ability to use your employees' time to say, okay, look, if we give you something good, send it on, right? In addition, while saying very clearly, this is what you don't talk about.
Thank you so much, all four of you.
Thank you. Pleasure. Thank you so much.
Participating in this discussion. Thank you.